The wind howled like a living thing, tearing across the jagged ice cliffs and whipping snow into blinding sheets. The alien pack staggered against the gale, their fur frosted and matted with ice, eyes wide with desperation. Every howl they sent into the storm was filled with grief, a mournful chorus for their missing cubs. The alpha, a towering creature with silver streaks running through midnight fur, circled a jagged rock formation again and again, each pass punctuated by guttural cries of loss. The cubs had been taken days ago, snatched by a predator far larger and faster than anything the pack had faced before. The elders had scoured the frozen plains, leaving no stone unturned, but their search yielded nothing. Hope had dwindled with each passing hour, replaced by the bitter frost of despair. Yet far beyond the pack's line of sight, a solitary figure moved through the blizzard with uncanny precision. A human, cloaked in layers of frost-covered gear, pressed forward through the storm. Her breath clouded in the frigid air, and her boots sunk into drifts that reached up to her knees, yet her gaze never wavered. She had tracked the pack and their cubs for days, following broken branches, clawed snow mounds, and faint paw prints that only someone with her skill could read. Her mind was a careful balance of logic and instinct. Every step mattered. One miscalculation could mean death in the storm, or worse, failure to save the cubs. She adjusted her thermal visor, scanning the terrain with a practiced eye. A flicker of heat caught her attention, a faint signature buried beneath a mound of snow. Hope sparked, and she whispered to herself, a promise more than a thought. "I'll find them. I'll bring them back." The alien pack, following at a distance, sensed the human before they saw her. A strange tension ran through their ranks, curiosity, wariness, and something new, a glimmer of hope. Their eyes, wide and amber against the white, tracked her progress as she vanished into the blinding snowfall, moving like a shadow in defiance of the storm. Suddenly, a jagged ridge split the plains ahead, and the sound of shifting ice echoed through the cold air. The human froze, scanning the area. From the shadows beneath the ridge, a massive shape moved, its eyes glinting with hunger. The predator that had taken the cubs must have returned, drawn by the same instinct that had driven the pack to grief. Without hesitation, she crouched low, shifting her weight to remain unseen. Every movement was precise, calculated, and silent. She had faced death before, in ways the pack could never imagine, and she was not about to let it claim the cubs now. Above her, the pack's howls faltered. The alpha's ears twitched, sensing something different in the air. Could the cubs still be alive? Could the human be the answer to their mourning? They could not yet understand, but a subtle shift moved through them, a flicker of hope, fragile yet undeniable. Through the blizzard, she moved forward, a lone figure of determination in the vast, icy wilderness. And somewhere ahead, buried beneath layers of snow and danger, the cubs waited. The storm refused to relent. Snow stung her face like shards of glass, and the wind threatened to topple her with every step. Yet the human pressed on, each footfall measured and deliberate, sinking into drifts that rose like frozen waves. She had memorized every ridge, every hidden crevice in her mind's eye, mapping the frozen landscape as if it were a puzzle only she could solve. Ahead, faint paw prints carved a trail into the snow. Her heart quickened. The cubs had survived. Somehow, against predators and the merciless blizzard, they had clawed their way through the icy plains. She adjusted her visor to thermal mode. Tiny bursts of heat flickered beneath a collapsed snowbank, a heartbeat of life she had been seeking. But survival was never simple here. A low growl, almost imperceptible against the roar of the storm, froze her in place. Her trained eyes scanned the shadows. There, moving with deadly patience, was a predator twice the size of the pack's alpha, its fur blending seamlessly with the snow, eyes glinting crimson. It had sensed her too. The human crouched, digging a hand into her satchel to retrieve a small device. Not a weapon, never a weapon, but a clever distraction, a pulse emitter that mimicked the scent and heat of a large prey. She activated it, tossing it into a nearby crevice. The predator snarled, investigating, its massive frame vanishing beneath the snow. For now she had bought herself precious minutes. She ran, feet pounding against the icy crust, following the thermal signals. The cubs were close, huddled together under the snow, trembling but alive. She reached them just as a second predator emerged from the storm, drawn by their warmth. Without hesitation, she wrapped the cubs in a thermal blanket, cradling them to shield them from the cold. Her eyes met the predator's, calculating, daring it to strike. The alien pack watched from a distance, their grief turning into awe. None had approached. They were wary, unsure if this human was friend or threat. But her bravery, her unwavering determination in the face of death, was something even the Alpha could sense. She was not like any other creature they had known. The storm worsened. Snow fell in thick, blinding sheets, and the ground beneath her shifted dangerously. Yet she pressed on, using every ounce of her strength to navigate the treacherous terrain. The cubs clung to her, their tiny claws digging into her arms, and she whispered soothing words, a language of calm that seemed to transcend species. Suddenly, a fissure cracked beneath her boots. She leapt, barely avoiding a plunging drop, heart hammering. The cubs squirmed, but she held them close, her grip firm yet gentle. She could feel their tiny heartbeats against her chest, fragile but strong. And somewhere in the distance, the pack howled, a raw, emotional sound that carried through the storm. It was a call of recognition, of hope. The human's breath was ragged, her body aching, but her resolve only hardened. She would not fail. The cubs were alive, and she would bring them back. No blizzard, no predator, no alien world could stop her. Humanity's courage, ingenuity, and empathy burned brightly in the frozen night. The storm had grown into a living wall of white, snow swirling and dizzying eddies that blinded even the most alert eyes. The human pressed forward, the cubs cradled tightly in her arms, each heartbeat a fragile pulse of hope against the relentless wind. She had memorized the terrain, but the blizzard was merciless. Every step threatened hidden crevices, jagged ice shards, or collapsing snow bridges. Suddenly, the faint glow of heat on her visor spiked. Another predator, that apex that had claimed the cubs before, had returned, drawn by their warmth. This one was larger, more cunning, its claws scraping the ice with a metallic screech. The human froze for a moment before making a split-second decision. Survival here was not about brute force. It was about wit, timing, and courage. She ducked behind a jagged ice formation, scanning for escape routes. Her mind raced through possibilities, calculating distances, angles, and the predator's probable path. Using the thermal blanket that kept the cubs alive, she fashioned a decoy, a bundle shaped like her own form, weighted with snow and rigged with a small pulse emitter. She tossed it into a nearby crevice. The predator snarled, investigating, its massive frame vanishing beneath the snow. For now she had bought herself precious minutes. She ran, feet pounding against the icy crust, following the thermal signals. The cubs were close, huddled together under the snow, trembling but alive. She reached them just as a second predator emerged from the storm, drawn by their warmth. Without hesitation, she wrapped the cubs in a thermal blanket, cradling them to shield them from the cold. Her eyes met the predator's, calculating, daring it to strike. The alien pack watched from a distance, their grief turning into awe. None had approached. They were wary, unsure if this human was friend or threat. But her bravery, her unwavering determination in the face of death, was something even the Alpha could sense. She was not like any other creature they had known. The storm worsened. Snow fell in thick, blinding sheets, and the ground beneath her shifted dangerously. Yet she pressed on, using every ounce of her strength to navigate the treacherous terrain. The cubs clung to her, their tiny claws digging into her arms, and she whispered soothing words, a language of calm that seemed to transcend species. Suddenly, a fissure cracked beneath her boots. She leapt, barely